JonTron.
Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, a big one, a huge one. JonTron's top 20 favorite SNES games of all time!
But John, that's so original.
Shut up, Jock! If I want to do this list, I'm gonna do it!
You know what? I don't want to be in your stupid show anymore. I'm going to make my own show.
Furthermore, we all know what the Super Nintendo is, so I'll spare you the boring introductory details, but I will say this. The SNES is home to some of the finest games in all of gaming history. You know what's great about the SNES? They didn't have the power to make games like this. God damn it! They had to actually use their brains to get around the limitations. Games had to be inspired to be successful on the SNES. They couldn't bank on rainbow graphics doing the work for them. Visuals did not amend the fact that gameplay flaws stuck out like brown on rice. Brown on rice? And that's what I love about it. These games made you feel something different. They took you to another world, another plane of existence. And perhaps that's why I am the way I am today, and not like this, you know. I just want to clear up. These 20 are not what I think are the absolute end-all best. Measure it out. These are just my top 20 favorite. In no particular order. This is just the way they happen to fall on my emotional scale. You're unacceptable.
Number 20.
Remember when you were a kid? This is perhaps the extent of what a puzzle game was to you. Simple, devoid of color, maybe a little boring. Yeah, Tetris was fun, for like a minute, but Mario had worlds and adventure and mystery, and Tetris had falling shapes. So chances are the first time you saw the cartridge for Tetris Attack, you thought to yourself, what could possibly be so attack about Tetris? Little did you know, though, that you were completely wrong. This game actually had more attack than Orson Welles on his 21st birthday. I guess they thought the Japanese version, Panel de Pon, was a little too much Asia for the American release, so they dumped the little girls and added in Yoshi and friends. Pretty simple concept here. Link the blocks and destroy them before they get to the top. Sort of like reverse Tetris, if you can imagine. What this game had that no other puzzle game I'd played at the time did was personality and maybe even a hint of atmosphere. You simply didn't get that with older puzzle games at the time. It was like a Mario game in a puzzle game. Mind-bending. It even had a story mode, which for some reason always appealed to me in games. Kind of like the minigame story mode in Mario Party. And oh god, that music. That's some good music! Let's face it, you may not like this game, but there is nothing more satisfying than doing this to your friends.
Number 19.
What is this game? I don't even know. I could look it up and spoil the mystery for myself, but you know what? I'm not going to ruin 16 years of wonderment for the purposes of this list.
You think her cancers are gone now?
Yes, I believe that, because God never lies.
You're going to stay just as much in the dark on this one as I am, so buckle up. The curiously named Maui Mallard in Cold Shadow, from what I understand, is a game where Donald Duck changes into a Hawaiian shirt, puts on a blue hat, and then turns into a ninja? Yeah, that just about covers it. What the hell is this game? Is that even Donald Duck? Who's Maui Mallard? You have no idea what kind of confusion this caused for me when I got the game way back when. I was expecting a Disney game I knew and understood, and I got this weird thing. That being said, though, Cold Shadow turned out to be an unexpected classic. Sure, the controls may be a bit wobbly compared to today's standards, but you gotta love the eerie feeling it just radiates. The whole game, so weird. I guess I have nothing more to say, really, but this game will always stand out to me as an underrated gem.
Number 18.
Firepower 2000. Yeah, what? You never heard of Firepower 2000? What, have you been living under the average person's roof for 20 years? Oh, well then, yeah, you probably haven't heard of Firepower 2000. This little-known Sunsoft title, known to my father and I colloquially as Helicopter and Car, is a most unfairly overlooked game in the scrolling shooter genre. You could pick from either being a yellow helicopter or a green tank jeep and blast your way through the legions of something. Yeah, the bad guys never really specified, so yeah, blindly following the supreme word of a tyrant, yeah. From the second you start this game, you know that this shit is for real. Listen to this music. See? This shit is for real! I know I say it a lot, but this game, 100% atmosphere. It's actually kind of scary at times. I mean, look at this boss. The weapon system, completely unique. For how much quality this game emanated, I'm entirely surprised that it's not as highly discussed as, per se, UN Squadron. In my opinion, it's even better than that game. Who knows why this game didn't do so well? All I know is that I love it, and you should too, God flapjacks, damn it!
Number 17.
Another Disney game, eh? What is this, Nazi Germany? I just gotta say, Disney games back in the SNES era were of unusually high quality. Some other good examples being The Lion King and Toy Story, but nothing quite reached the level of our Arabian Prince Aladdin. Even the Genesis version wasn't quite up to snuff with the SNES version. I wonder why. Oh. That's right, the SNES version was made by Capcom! Hell yeah! But seriously, Aladdin for SNES had it all in terms of gameplay, graphics, and design, and if that weren't enough, it has my personal favorite Disney hero at the helm. So many good times with this one that I can't even count. And I just gotta say, something about these jumps are just so satisfying. Any way you look at this one, Aladdin for SNES knows where it's at.
Number 16.
Pink dude sucking shit up? Cute! Let me rephrase. Pink monster eating denizens of the forest, digesting them, and using their souls to beat the shit out of more forest creatures. Yeah, it doesn't sound like playtime at the nursery now, does it? Everyone knows and loves Kirby, but how did he get where he is today? Sure, back in the days of Game Boy and NES, he had some pretty good and standard titles, but Kirby Superstar is what put him on the map. Pretty much everything you know about this pink adorable thing originally stemmed from this game. Man, talk about good controls. Kirby Superstar is in the dictionary next to that. This game was pretty much as simple as it can get without being criminal, yet so fun and replayable because you could pretty much play any part any way you wanted, and with Liquid Crystal gameplay. Not to mention 8 games in one, holy shit! Okay, it's not really 8 games in one, but that doesn't change the fact that this game is legendary.
Number 15.
Remember back in the days of Wonderment, where you'd go to a Chuck E. Cheese and see this game, and you'd play it with your friends, and you'd fight over the pizza, and nothing could be better? Then you'd go home sad as shit because you knew in your calloused heart that your family couldn't afford a $2,000 arcade cabinet of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But that's when it happened. You turned your head wistfully to the left, and through your window descended Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. For whatever reason, SNES ports of arcade games usually sucked, and arcade machines were way more powerful in terms of hardware. But Turtles in Time was pretty much a perfect port, minus some audio and animation downgrades. I can definitively say that this is without a doubt my favorite arcade-style beat-em-up of all time, and one of the best multiplayer experiences on any console ever. Amazing sound effects, fluid animation, great hit detection, and fantastic bosses. When you think of gaming bliss, you think Turtles in Time. This is not only a great SNES beat-em-up, it's one of the greatest of all time.
Number 14.
Mode 7? More like Goat Heaven. What do you mean, writer's block? Fuck you, how about that? God damn it, I love me some F-Biro. I mean 3 Clearo. I mean B-Hero. I mean... Okay, I can't think of anything to write about F-Zero, but I love it, and so do you. And it deserves the number 14 spot. We cool? We cool.
Number 13.
What is this thing, you may be asking yourselves? Well, I'll tell you. That's the Super Game Boy, and I was just as confused as you were when I first saw it. Got this bad boy on Christmas, and I'd never seen anything like it. As it turned out, though, it allowed me to play Game Boy games on my TV. How sweet! Your Game Boy games even got a sweet specialized border. In a way, this was a savior back in the day, because the geniuses behind the first Game Boys decided to implement highly reflective screens with no backlight, essentially meaning that you could either play it in extreme lighting conditions against 6 dog titties or not play it at all. And say the Super Game Boy didn't appeal to you, you could have also waited until the N64 era for this piece of shit. Want to either transfer your Pokemon to Pokemon Stadium or play only Pokemon Blue through Silver on your TV? Well, then this guy right here is just the thing for you.
Number 12.
Super Metroid? Only number 12 on the list? I understand that for some reason this game is as highly praised as Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Jesus Christ, but I'm just not as big of a fan of it as most people. Of course, I wouldn't put it this high on the list if I didn't enjoy it. I still love this game immensely and think it's one of the finest games for the entire console. What this game did right was, well, everything. I'd never seen such detail given to a game before. The music is beautiful and blends perfectly with the environment. The sounds are crisp and realistic. The controls are fluid and natural, and it's still perfectly playable to date. And you've heard this all before. Honestly, who doesn't love Super Metroid? I think it's pretty much a mandated fact that you have to appreciate this game if you like the Super Nintendo. I love this game, but you know what? For me, it just barely misses the top 10.
Number 11.
Why do I always hear from people that this game sucks? It totally doesn't. Maybe it was the drastic change in style from the previous two Donkey Kong games, but I honestly saw it as a welcome change. It is more cartoony, but you know what? I think it's better if a game series feels like 3 different games rather than one big one. It keeps things fresh and interesting. In Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, you played as Dixie Kong alongside the fan favorite, Kiddy Kong. Okay, let's face it, no one likes Kiddy Kong. He's stupid as shit, but we're not gonna let one little sprite ruin an entire game for us, are we? Blue Pants McNanahans aside, this game is pure awesome all the way through. Immersive worlds with fantastic music to match them. So many completely detailed and well thought out levels, and just perfect game physics. I've played this game so many times, and it never gets old. I have no idea why Shigeru ever said these games were devoid of gameplay a decade back, because I think it's quite the opposite. I think I prefer how Donkey Kong games control compared to old Mario games. However you may feel about this issue, you certainly can't call this a bad game. In fact, it just happens to be one of my favorites.
Number 10.
You know, I've got something to confess. I'm not sure how much I really like Earthbound as a game, but as I'm going back to try to think of things to fit in this list, I'm struck with oddly fond memories of it. Like, what were they on when they made this game? That's another thing about SNES games that I used to adore, the fact that the weirdness just took the immersion that much farther. If you played long enough, you'd almost trance and start to accept the trippy game logic as true, like a bee talking to you, then giving you a tutorial speech that can loop forever? Like he did what? I don't know about this game. I want you all to know, I rather dislike this game as a game. I mean, nothing's more fun than watching a static blank background and pushing A, right? Nothing. But as an experience, well, this game excels to Distant Nebulae and back. I really do think a game can be an experience alone sometimes if it plays its cards right. I mean, look at Heavy Rain.
Jason!
Number 9.
Best Castlevania theme ever! Super Castlevania 4. Yeah! But the name just begs the question, is there a regular Castlevania 4? Stupid name aside, okay, fuck it, the name's pretty sweet after all. Awesome name aside, Castlevania 4 is a game I would call the finest linear Castlevania platformer. Some may argue Devil's Castle Dracula X Rondo of Blood was, but I guess I just don't fall into that category. Epic scenery, the classic whip, those cool rainbow graphics on the bosses, music of the gods of Valhalla, sound effects that are so sharp and crisp they could rip the cuddle off a fish, and the most perfectest gameplay controls in all of the linear Castlevanias. Whoever designed Castlevania 1 through Belmont's Revenge was apparently put through a wood chipper and tossed to the bottom of the ocean, because Castlevania 4 actually had controls. Honestly, I'm surprised that a game even made it to a 4th installment without the previous games even having controls. Imagine that. Simpler times back then, I tell you. You could whip up, down, sideways, diagonal, squagonal, interdimensional, it didn't matter. Also, you had more control of your own jump, which is always a plus. I never actually played it as a kid, and even played it after such titles as Dawn of Sorrow and Symphony of the Night, and I still think it's one of the better games. Yeah, it's that good.
Number 8.
John, I'm surprised you picked Donkey Kong Country 3 instead of the other ones. Yeah, Me too, because I didn't. It is rather inexplicable how much Donkey Kong Country means to me. When this game first came out, I think my retinas melted, because do you see these graphics? Even today they're nothing to sneeze at. Even some games on the PlayStation 1 had pre-rendered graphics that look like shits today. I'll tell you what's special about this game to me. They really tried for a somewhat realistic feel. The next two games were more video gamey and stylized, but this one was the only one that was pure country. Temple levels were stoic and mysterious, water levels ambient and emotionally captivating, crystal cave levels just flooring, and my personal favorite, the forests. Beautifully orchestrated music alongside them, the forest levels were something to be witnessed. This is one of those times I was talking about, when you feel really removed from your own life and transplanted into another plane of existence, a place where rules and boundaries don't apply, only emotions, however irrational they may be. Maybe this is a little too deep for a game series that eventually stars Can Jam's McShitflinger, but I just know there's gotta be another soul out there who sees in this game what I see. If you're out there, my number is 1-800-REJECTION hotline.
Number 7.
Before Final Fantasy turned into Final Hallway, it was a franchise of valor and grace. And no SNES Final Fantasy is more deserving of that blanket statement than the masterpiece that is Final Fantasy VI, or, 3. Because, I mean, whatever. America's usually 3 steps behind Japan at any point anyways. This game was a more mature and evolved take on the RPG genre. Don't quote me on it, but I think this game factored in largely for the turning point in video game storytelling. You were no longer shoved a paragraph of text to read a la the days of yester. You experienced the events and character relationships for yourself, finding the impact of the story to you in a way previously impossible for games like Ultima to realistically achieve. Games like this were almost dreamlike. I think this is especially true in this case because you tried to relate your 3D real-world feelings to this 2D game. In terms of audio, there's nothing to miss. I think it's quite amazing that Nobuo Uematsu was able to create such haunting and uplifting melodies through such musical limitations. But I suppose it's not too surprising, for masterful music is masterful music, no matter which way you render it.
Go ninja, go ninja, go! Go ninja, go ninja.
Number 6.
One day my neighbor was like, "Do you want to play a game I have called Zombies Ate My Neighbors?" To which I replied, "What, are you trying to make me look like a fool in front of my family and friends? Ain't nobody named that game something stupid like that." To which he replied, "Holy fucking shit." The name Zombies Ate My Neighbors is an obvious preliminary draw just for curiosity's sake, but I'd never have imagined that such a peculiarly named cartridge would end up being pretty much the best multiplayer experience on the Super Nintendo. Man, this game was hard, but in a good way. And honestly, it still challenges me every time I pick it up to play nowadays. What a crazy-ass game. You used everything as a weapon against the undead horde. Popsicles, soda cans, and another cool thing is that it was both co-op and competitive at the same time, and also made you want to kill whatever friend you were playing with. It benefited both of you to keep each other alive, but that said, there was no incentive to keep you from hoarding all the items to yourself. Yeah, that works out great. Before you know it, you're planning out each other's assassinations. But in the end, after Brad Pitt comes back to life, you realize that it was all in good fun, and the spirit of the game is really where it's at. Until you guys pop in Legend of Zelda 4 Swords and start playing that together.
Number 5.
Awesome! A new Mario game! Let's go home and play that shit! What you've just experienced is the way I felt upon first playing Super Mario RPG. That was it, the first RPG I'd ever played. I was primarily an action gamer at the time and didn't really understand the concept of something like this. I only picked it up from Brokebuster because it was a Mario game after all. Sad to say, but my child mind just couldn't handle what Legend of the Seven Stars had to offer at that time. So for 7 long years, Super Mario RPG lay at the bottom of the ocean, cursed by the gods to live in deafening solitude, until the foretold day that it was time for the Legend of the Seven Stars to rise again. Unfortunately though, by that point my cartridge was too damaged by water to play, and thus I discovered the phenomenon that was the emulator. You are a pirate! Yeah, shut up. I don't endorse pirating games, but this was back in the day when eBay wasn't well known, I had no money, and retro gaming fairs weren't exactly within my reach. So emulators were the only place I had to turn for reliving retro games. I'd finally regrouped with Super Mario RPG, but this time it was different. I understood and loved RPGs, and it just so happened that this particular one happened to be one of the finest. Killer graphics, killer music, killers. And I love that it introduced a way for RPGs to feel like you weren't just telling Mario to attack. You actually had some tactile input to sway the effectiveness of his attacks. Subtle but great. Anything I'll say about this game, you already know. So to cap it off, I'll just say...
Jason!
Number 4.
Bam, headshot, kasplush, all tree, that's right. Every single Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo is on this list as a separate entry, and you know what? They each stand on their own. The way my brain sees it, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy is very close to being the finest trio of sequels in all gaming. They're just also goddamn groundbreaking. As much as I love 3 and the original, 2 is the obvious taker of the cake for me. This game was borderline perfect. Music, style, visuals, gameplay, level design, flow. And not to mention it's the only entry in the series where both the characters you play are, well, cool. I don't know, something about Donkey Kong and Kiddy is annoying to me. I don't know if they actually control any worse, but they feel heavier, slower, and hard to handle. I can play this game over and over and over and over and over and over. Feeling you get while playing is indescribable. All your worries shed away like snakeskin, and all you can focus on is why Dixie has blonde hair when she's a monkey. Not too much left to say about this series. I've said more than enough through these 3 entries, but as it stands, Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy Kong's Quest is the master in an already masterful series. That is some truly master hand shit. Master.
Number 3.
Now we're really getting down to it, aren't we? You knew this game would make an appearance, how could it not? I won't deny it, there's definitely some personal bias with this one, because it's the first game I ever owned on the first console I ever owned. Like, wow, you think it might place highly on this list? I actually already went in depth with this one on my top 10 boss battles list, but I guess I'll say it again. For a while, I think I actually lived inside of Super Mario World. I played in the fields of Yoshi's Island. I climbed on the chain-link fences of Iggy's castle. I swam next to spiky testicles. I rode the dolphins of, Snow Mountain Peak. I opened up new paths in the Forest of Illusion. I went through when I saw shit like this. And I brought down Bowser and his minions, and this is the United States of fucking America, god damn it! Nothing can explain the connectedness I feel with this game. Whenever I boot it up, from the music right down to the weird graphics, I feel perfectly at home. I don't know about you, but I feel that Super Mario World doesn't really feel all that much like a traditional Mario game. It's a bit weird, but you know what? I love it. Getting this high in the top 20 is really like asking me to choose which one of my future children I'll like better. I just can't do it. This game is golden.
Number 2.
Okay, now we're getting into some really serious shit. No more jokes.
How about a dozen eggs? Cost me $442.
I know people love and appreciate Yoshi's Island, but I don't think that they love it and appreciate it as much as they should. In my humblest of opinions, Yoshi's Island is the finest platformer to ever grace the earth. It's perfect. 100% perfect. Even Super Mario World's got some flaws here and there, but Yoshi's Island is 10 out of 10. Why, you ask? Well, let me lay it on you. Each level had something unique and different. The controls were so perfect and fluid that I have not played a game to this date that would give me the same feeling of control and exhilaration. The mechanics were beautifully crafted. The jump is multi-dimensional in design. You can jump normally, but then float to bring yourself some extra accuracy. The tongue is perfectly integrated into the game, bringing an entire new level of depth that couldn't be achieved with Mario's non-reaching abilities. Keeping all that in mind, the level design is also perfect and wonderfully varied. Never once does this game feel like it's getting repetitive. The music is godlike, the visuals are breathtaking, the sounds perfectly describe the actions in the environment. There's a shit ton of levels. Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island is the Mozart of technological and spiritual advancement in the early video game industry. The Beethoven, the Da Vinci. It's Yoshi's Island, motherfucker! Through all the immensity that is the SNES library, there is one title I find myself returning to year after year and never ceasing to find pure joy in. That shimmering diamond would be Super Mario All-Stars. You all may not agree that this should be my top favorite game out of all the SNES games because it's just a recompilation of older Mario games, but to me, it's something much more. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not too fond of playing older Mario games on the NES because I didn't grow up with an NES. It's hard for me to accurately relive them the way they were originally created, but what I did grow up with was Super Mario All-Stars. In fact, when I was a kid, I had no freaking idea these were remastered NES games. I didn't even know what an NES was. It's certainly important to remember one's roots, but as I see it, All-Stars trumps all of the NES counterparts. The pixely aesthetic and the magically orchestrated music evoke feelings of deep happiness that I cannot accurately describe with words. I'm taken to a time of the past, a time where worries were few and adventure was high. 4 Mario games on one cartridge, each with their own visual and musical style. How could anything get better for a kid? Super Mario Bros. The Classic, Super Mario Bros. 2, a game unreleased in the US, and the jaw-dropping wonder that is Super Mario Bros. 3. And you know what? If this game were simply just Super Mario Bros. 3, I think I would still love it just as much. This revolutionary third installment of the Mario series is what I might call the best Mario game ever made. And I'm sure I don't need to explain the reasons why. It's simply a masterpiece. While older SNES games fade into obscurity, Super Mario All-Stars comes closer towards the light, because with each year it ripens like an antique bottle of wine. Each year the taste becomes more classic, and the nostalgia towards our carefree childhoods becomes deeper. Experiences like the ones we've had with games like Super Mario All-Stars are the kind we'll take with us for all our lives. While some of our parents and peers may dismiss such thoughts and feelings as petty and childlike, you've still got to listen to your true inner voice that guides you. You only know what you feel, and I for one feel that these video games have defined me. They've revealed to me that you don't have to think inside the box if you don't want to. In the realm of your hopes and dreams, the impossible can be achieved. While the mundanity of life drones on, you can always find solace and adventure inside a virtual world, and really, who's to say what's real and what's not? All of these games now are but distant memories of freeze frames in time and space that we have the choice and power to relive with the flip of a switch. It's simply human nature to try to make sense of things by whipping up a trivial list in the order of which our favorites fall, but really, how can you rate such things? For these games are significant to us for differing reasons. A game that may be unappealing to one person may hold a plethora of meaning to another. It may be easy to lose sight of why we really love video games, but just remember, at the end of the day when you're powering down that PlayStation 3 console, that it wasn't always about how many gigabytes of RAM you had. It was about the adventure. Thanks for watching JonTron's Top 20 SNES Games. See you next time. Go to normalboots.com right now to see a new JonTron original, and if you want to follow us on social networking, go to facebook.com/JonTronShow or twitter.com/JonTronShow.